Hey, Michael, how are you doing? Let's see. I think you're muted.
There we go.
Hey,
Hi. Hi there.
how are you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you tonight?
I'm good, thank you. A little intimidated. Let's see if I can throw this together.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm sure you'll do fine.
Thank you, sir. It is recording. And then also you take a screenshot. We'll do. Okay, awesome. So it looks like we're getting people ready to go here, and we should be starting in the next 10 minutes.
Great.
Was there any issues accessing the Zoom link?
No, worked fine, thanks.
That's good to hear. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Glad we have that figured out. Okay, I'm going to mute myself for a second here, and then I'll be right back.
Okay.
Hello, Michael. I hope you're doing well.
Good, thanks. Hi, Mark. How are you?
Hanging in there?
Good, good.
Ah, Miss Rosemary, she's back.
Here I am.
Hi, Rosemary.
Hi.
Happy
Just-
Thursday.
Yes.
Thank you. You too.
Our first meeting with Jeff Gorell. It's exciting.
Exactly.
It is.
So I'm so impressed by Jeff, honestly. In the past, when he was our assemblyman, I was so impressed with him, especially with his war record. So I chair a gala every year for a charity called For the Troops, and that's March 4th. And Jeff is going to be our master of ceremonies. So, but it's really great to hear his, his experiences and how rewarding it was to receive the packages that our charity has sent to our overseas personnel. So for any of you with companies that would like to do sponsorships, we would love a sponsorship. So anyway, it's a great charity because it's all volunteer. There is no, nobody earns an income at all in the charity. It's all, every dime you give goes towards mailing.
What is the name of it?
For the Troops. If you go to forthetroops.org, it was actually started by a woman who lives in Santa Rosa Valley, Paula Cornell. And I was just so impressed with this charity because so many times when you work for charities, it's like you see that every dollar, like 30 cents goes to administrative costs, and this one, it's, every person who works there does it from the goodness of their heart.
Wow. Oh, that's great.
Hi there.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes, welcome.
Thank you very much. Good to see you. Good to be back. Hasn't been too long. Is there, Madam Chairperson, the availability to share my my screen?
You would do that. I am not the host. Shane
Okay.
Warburton is.
Shane,
So you would
okay.
do that through Shane.
Okay, I'll look for Shane on here.
Yeah. Are you
Hey,
making
Andrew, just coming
Hey,
back
Shane,
in.
how are you?
Just to verify, you were saying that you'd like to share your screen with us for your presentation?
Yeah. Is that going to be that possible? I think I shared last time. So
It definitely could be. I was not hosting it last time, and
we can do a quick test if you're available. It does
Sure.
seem that I can share here.
So you're going to want to share with the host, which is the blank office of Supervisor Jeff Gorell.
Okay. Well, let me share. There's no audio to the, let me see if I share this, if you can.
Oh, that's working.
There we go.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, that works.
All right, I can down-regulate my blood pressure now. I think everything's in.
Fantastic.
Well, it depends. Before you bring down that blood pressure, be prepared for something about our Morgenstein run. I want to hear good news.
Well, excuse me. Like I say to most groups, I have a dog at home that loves me and a wife that likes me. So I usually can get over most things on most days. So
By the way, thank you again for taking my calls, not during a meeting when I'd call to talk to you about the electrical lines. I really appreciate it.
oh, no, absolutely, absolutely.
All right, we'll just give it a couple more minutes, formally starting at 6 p.m. But if you guys want, we could give it just a couple minutes to let more people join. We put this link out in our newsletter. It's on our website. Posted the agenda. Hope nobody had any issues finding the link today.
Obviously,
Well,
I
yeah.
did. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries about it. Happy to get it out there.
Hi, Shane. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Amy.
Oh, there's Kevin. Oh, there's Mark.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Mark.
Hello.
I think the gang's all here.
Okay, well, if that's the case. Let's see here. Let me just make sure that Jeff's on.
There he is.
Supervisor Burrell.
Have you ever done Zoom before?
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi.
Good evening. I'm gonna go to gallery mode here. How's everyone doing tonight?
Great.
Good.
Very well.
Good.
Good to hear, good to hear.
Wonderful.
Well, thank you for joining us. I want to how's my audio? Does it sound okay?
Perfect.
Excellent.
Great. I think it's my obligation to convene a meeting prior to selecting the officers of the MAC. So I'm going to follow the agenda. Does everyone have the agenda at home? Anyone need it sent to them?
I'm good.
Okay. Stand by for a quick second here. All right, so good evening, everyone. Let's call this meeting to order. I'm Jeff Gorell, and this is the Santa Rosa Valley Municipal Advisory Committee, our meeting of Thursday, February 2nd, 2023. And I think the first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. You want to walk me through how we're going to do that on Zoom? Look at
That's
that.
how we do it.
There
Right
you go.
there.
That's how we do it.
That's
Yep.
wonderful. That's wonderful. If you join me by placing your right hand over your heart, I pledge allegiance to the flag
Pledge
To the flag.
allegiance to the flag
Of the United
of
States.
America,
Okay.
States,
to the republic for which it stands,
and
one
One
nation,
nation, under God, indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty.
liberty and justice for all.
for all. Fantastic. You know, it just feels different when you're on TV and you're just waiting to forget the thing that you've said, every week for your entire life since you were 4.
Yep. Amen to that.
Anyhow, we've got a couple of folks who are re-elected. That's Mark Burley and Amy Elliott. First of all, congratulations are in order.
Thank you. And to
And
you.
back to the MAC as it were. So congratulations in that. I'm gonna go ahead and take a minute and swear you in if that would be okay.
Great.
I need to have that oath up. We could put the oath up. Shane, do you have the oath available to post?
Stand by. Let me get that for you.
Or Shane, you can just bring it over to my office. All right, so what I think we'll do is we're going to come back to the oath in just a minute while Shane pulls that up. And we're also going to just come back to the selection of our officers, our chair and vice chair. And I'm just going to use this awkward pause to skip forward to the introduction of myself and just take that opportunity right now while we're pulling that up. I'm Jeff Gorell. I was honored to be elected to the County Board of Supervisors, 2nd District in this last election. I'm a resident of Camarillo. I live on the Conejo Grade. Actually, you can see my backyard from many of your homes, I suspect. You can see my backyard from the 101, from the grade as you go up. I've lived in Camarillo since 2006 and Thousand Oaks before that. I have 2 sons, Jack and Steven. They're 13 and 8, and they're kind of they're the reasons why I ran, and the decisions that I make are usually when thinking about those 2 boys and what their life would be like in Ventura County years from now. I also am in the Navy Reserve. I'm a captain in the United States Navy Reserve. I've been in the Navy for 23 years, and my dad was in the Navy and my grandfather was in the Navy, so it's a lot of Navy in my family. And then actually the most challenging of all the jobs is even probably beyond being a dad or being a captain in the Navy or being a county supervisor. I'm president of my HOA. So, so
I feel your pain.
yeah, you feel the pain. You feel the pain. I share that because I think it shows in my DNA. I really do enjoy, despite being a little bit of a masochist and being in that role, I do enjoy getting in and working with my community and identifying neighborhood level issues and problems and challenges and trying to figure out how we can work together to fix them. I enjoy doing that. I hope to do that well for you as your supervisor. And I really look forward to the wonderful relationship that I know that we'll have with the MAC and the entire Santa Rosa Valley community. So thank you for stepping up and being willing to do this. I'm now going to ask Mark Burley and Amy Elliott to raise your right hand if you would. And let's do this. Please repeat after me. I, and then state your name.
I, Mark Burley,
I, Amy Elliott,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution
that I will support and defend the Constitution
of the United States
of
of
the
the
United States,
United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and that I will bear true faith
and I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or a purpose of evasion,
without any
without any mental reservation,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
That's it. Congratulations. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
And appreciate everyone's service, but those that are coming back to join us again. So I am now going to turn it over to you as a new MAC body, newly reconstituted MAC body, to select a chair and a vice chair. That's up to you.
Okay, so our next item on the agenda is selection of chair and vice chair.
I'm going to suggest that we could, with all these wonderful changes that are going on, we could use some continuity, and that I would like to nominate Rosemary Allison to be chair.
I second that.
Thank you very much.
We have a first and a second to nominate Rosemary Allison as the chair of the MAC. Any comment? Not hearing any comment. We have enough. We'll take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
All those who'd like to abstain, please do so now. Voice that abstention. Not hearing any no's and hearing ayes overwhelmingly, if not to a person. And Mary, congratulations. Rosemary, congratulations. You're our new chair and continuing chair. So thank you very much for your service. And most importantly, the meeting is now yours.
Okay, so now we need to select the vice chair. Who would like that position? Our previous vice chair, I believe, was Kevin, correct?
Correct.
Kevin, Amy, Michael, Mark. You're all wonderful
Kevin-
candidates. So who would like to have that position, or who would like to volunteer to be considered for that position? Amy, you haven't been at it before. Would you like to?
If nobody else wants to speak up, sure.
I'll second that.
All right.
I'll be glad to also volunteer.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, we have two potentials. Okay. You know, Amy's had a little more experience on the Mac. You know, at this point, I think we need to take it to a vote and figure out, you know, who. So
This is
I'll-
exciting.
yes, we have a
I
competition.
would recommend seeking a motion and a second before proceeding
Okay,
on
all right.
on
On
somebody
Michael.
on somebody's nomination. Was there a first and second on Amy?
Yes.
Okay.
So there was a first and a second, and on Michael? Okay,
Is it fair for me to second Michael's?
Sure.
Okay,
okay, so there, we have a second. Okay, so,
Well, now would be the point we would have a discussion if anyone wanted to discuss possibly either one of these nominations.
In my opinion, both would be excellent vice chair, and maybe what were you saying, Rosemary? You felt that Amy had been on the
Mac a little bit longer,
Mac
and,
a little bit
but why
longer.
don't you two give us, you know, your views on becoming vice chair?
Sure. First off, I would love it. I am so very proud to be on this MAC board. It happened a bit organically, and I would be honored to represent the Valley at another level on the MAC board.
Okay, Michael.
Well, I just saw that there was a opportunity to help out even a little bit further with the MAC, and so that was mainly my motivation for putting myself into the contest for vice chair.
Okay.
Can I just ask a question? I believe that this is an annual, we do this annually, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. It's difficult because I think they're both excellent candidates. My gut feeling is, as Amy has been on a little bit longer, maybe she should be the vice chair this year. And my feeling is that Michael could well nominate him, or we can nominate, or can nominate himself for next year. And I think we can maybe make that change for the following year. That would be my solution to this.
Well, at this point, what we need to do is vote.
Solomonic problem.
Okay, at this
Yeah,
point, we need to vote.
I will say this, you know, I would be glad to defer to Amy this year. That would be fine with me. It sounds like she would really like to take on that role, and she has been on longer than I have, so I'm perfectly fine with that decision.
Great.
Okay.
And I think I'm going to re-nominate Amy, if that's the case, to be vice chair.
Yeah, I think technically Michael would withdraw his original motion.
Correct.
And so-
Yeah, I'll withdraw my original motion.
Okay,
Very nice.
all right. So Amy, you are our vice chair.
I think we have to vote.
Congratulations.
We have to vote.
We have to vote.
Okay,
All those.
all right.
All those.
All
in
those
favor?
in favor of Amy being our vice chair, please raise your right hand.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
Well, okay, thank you.
All those who wish to abstain? And all those who wish to vote no. Okay, that's it. All right, now. We've done the introduction, so let's go through our agenda review.
Can I just ask a silly question? I assume that Shane is recording all of this, or we're just going off the actual record, the Zoom recording.
It's being
This is
recorded.
being recorded, yes.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Item number 6 is agenda review. Any changes that you see needed done to the agenda for this evening?
None for me.
Okay. All right. The next thing is the approval of minutes from the previous meeting.
Mhm. Okay.
Do I bring up the minutes here now, or is that after this? Because we're just going over the agenda right now.
Well,
We're on item 7, right, Rosemary?
right,
But
right,
we're actually apt to approval of the minutes, yes.
right. So you could bring them up right now.
Very good.
Okay,
And then these are also on our website, so everybody should have access to the minutes here.
correct.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Do I have a second?
I can second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion is carried. The minutes are approved. Okay, so now let's go to the MAC meeting calendar for 2023. Beyond this month, it's going to continue to be the third Thursday of every other month. So our next meeting would be May 18th. No, I'm sorry, March 16th. Right. So it's March 16th.
And we'll get this posted to our website as well. I'm working with IT on
Okay.
that.
Right. So we're going back to our normal schedule.
That's correct.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
I'm good with that.
All right. I need an,
I make a motion to approve the MAC calendar as we see it now.
I
do I have a
second.
second? Okay. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, carried. All right. Now let us go to public safety reports. Who do I have? You know, Shane, can we go back to the gallery view, please? There, okay. Okay, I see Heather there, and I also see Officer Marin. So Heather, why don't I allow you to go first?
All right, well, Happy New Year, everybody. I was sad that I didn't make the last meeting. Sergeant Ramos was filling in for me. And I noticed that he talked about our 101 southbound project, which unfortunately is still in process. We had some delays, especially with the rain, which I'm happy that we had the rain, but it did push our construction behind. And I've just got an update yesterday that we're looking through the end of the month that southbound will be closed and then should be opening up, but then they're jumping over to northbound. So I noticed that Sergeant Ramos also talked about us deploying strike teams and asking if there's any particular areas. Amy Elliott and Jen Bell talked about Santa Rosa Road. So perhaps I can get in touch with both of them and sort of get some more particulars about time of day, what day of the week might be more than other days of the week. And then we can start setting stuff up as soon as we close down is our bigger facility. And I'll have officers available to go out and do some things. We sort of have to look at the roadway and see where we can pull trucks over and have sort of an area that's safe for everybody else as well. But that's definitely something that we would like to do. Other than that, the 118 also out of Moore Park, and I know it's a little further away from the Santa Rosa Valley, but the eastbound side of the 118 construction is going to be again as well, and they're going to be putting a modular building on that side and putting a safety barrier in. So we'll have a facility more like, actually a little nicer than the little westbound shack that we have. And that should probably be starting up in the next couple of months. So in 2023, all of our construction should be done. So by the end of the year, we'll be up and running and fully functional, northbound, southbound, eastbound, westbound. So any questions for me?
I have a question. It's not directly to Santa Rosa Valley, but it does affect us because we drive that way.
Yeah.
The Hampshire exit when you go south on the 23 and then head towards Westlake Village, the Hampshire exit is one of the lanes has been closed off for some sort of construction. And I have twice had to pull up very fast and had people going past me onto the side there. And my understanding was there was an accident there the other night, pretty recently. So is there any way that people could be warned about this? There could be more signage saying that one of the lanes is missing. It seems like a dangerous situation.
Well, yeah, actually, that's something that I can talk with our Moore Park office. That's their jurisdiction. It looks like possibly that they might be repairing some damage or something like that for the exit to be closed down like that. So yeah, I will bring that up to Lieutenant Key or Officer Ayers and let them know that that was a concern that was voiced.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions for this officer? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Heather, so much for spending your evening here with us. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay, Officer Marin, you're on.
Hello, can you guys hear me? I've had a little bit of difficulties initially getting on to Zoom. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, I'm Officer Marin. I'm an officer here at the CHP Moore Park office. I'm filling in for Lieutenant Key and Officer Ayers. Officer Ayers is our public information officer who, if it's not normally him or Lieutenant Key, I used to be a public information officer, so he chose me to kind of fill in for them since I'm a little bit more familiar as to how these things or these meetings go. I will bring up to Lieutenant Key and the appropriate people here at our office that concern that was just brought up about Hampshire exit and not having proper signage. I think it's a matter of contacting either Caltrans or whoever the contractor is to make sure they have appropriate signage prior to that exit southbound at Hampshire. So I'll bring that up for to the lieutenant and see if there's something that they could do, and then we'll let you know. Hopefully you'll see it soon if the changes are done, but if not by the next meeting, hopefully there's a resolution for that. Lieutenant Key just basically asked me to come on here and answer any questions anybody might have and update you guys on perhaps a question or questions you guys might have had about the fatality that recently happened January 20th on Reed Road, Moore Park Road, just south of Terre Haute Road. There was three vehicles involved. I don't know what you guys have read or seen in the news, but basically it was a Honda Accord sedan that was traveling, as I understand it, northbound on Moore Park Road, and for whatever reason decided to, or allowed his car to drive wrong way, where it went head on with a Jeep, and then the Jeep lost control after the crash and went off to the side. And then the Honda continued and crashed into a third vehicle, a Chevy vehicle, which received minor damage and was able to move off to the right shoulder. Unfortunately, the driver of the Honda succumbed to his injuries, and there was a broken leg for the driver of the Jeep. The investigation is still ongoing. We don't know if there's any alcohol or drugs are involved in that. We have to wait for coroner reports to come in. But basically, just a sad instance that it happened there. I don't know if there's any questions or anything that I might be able to answer for that, but a male 38 years old from Oxnard is a deceased out of that crash. Other than updates for that, does anybody have any questions for that fatal TC or anything that happened there? I might be able to answer or get answers for you for a later date. Another thing I want to remind, and you guys get it out to your community, is the services that Moore Park office provides to the general public. That's car seat inspections and installations that are done through Officer Ayers. They're done on a weekly basis. If you guys know of any community members that have any young kids that are car seat age or grandparents or anybody that needs assistance with their car seats, call our office, make an appointment, and we'll be able to help you guys out, make sure your car seats are installed properly. That's one of our bigger services that we're proud of, and we serve here out of the Moore Park office, again, once a week, and they're done by Officer Ayers. We also have available bicycle helmets that we give out free of charge. We just ask that the people that need them come in so we can make sure they're fitted properly to them. We offer a Start Smart program. I don't know how many are familiar. If you guys have teenage daughters or sons that are just getting their driver's license and unfortunately get a citation, an infraction for speeding somewhere, and you guys are worried about your insurance rates going up. This is a program that we offer that is accepted by the Ventura County courts to, if they request it from the judge and the judge allows it, they take a 2-hour class that is put on by Officer Ayers. The judge will often dismiss the infraction, so it keeps that minor's record clean. So there are some prerequisites. They have to be a minor. You can't be an adult and ask for the class. It's meant for new drivers to kind of give them a break on their first infraction, normally speeding or stop sign violations and stuff like that. So we do offer that class here at the Moore Park office. There's other services. If you guys have any questions about the services that we do offer here, feel free to call us at our office here in Moore Park, and we'll try to be as helpful as we can. With that, if there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Officer Marin, first of all, thank you so much. I love that grandparent program for the car seats. I cannot figure them out.
Yes.
But also, I want to say congratulations on the 150 years of service. I understand you're all going to be wearing badges to commemorate that.
Yes, the Sheriff's Department is going to be doing that. They have they're celebrating the 150th anniversary, and they're going to be, I understand, the sheriff allowed them to wear special badges to celebrate their 150 years. So yes. And another note, Officer Ayers and Lieutenant Key, the reason they're not here is Officer Ayers is getting presented with the Medal of Valor for a Medal of Valor from tomorrow. So they traveled up to Sacramento, where they're going to be, Officer Ayers is going to be presented that tomorrow. So it's great news for Officer Ayers.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes.
What I would like an update on is the gangs, or the theft group, the Chilean, I think they call them the South American theft group that has been hitting our area. Is there any new news? Have there been any new robberies that have occurred?
From our standpoint, from the Highway Patrol, I don't know that we have any input on those gangs. I don't know how closely we're working with the Sheriff's Department, but I can certainly ask Lieutenant Key, see if he can ask his partners over next door at the Sheriff's Department and see if they can give him an update that he can provide.
Hi, Rosemary. I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm Senior Deputy Claudia Holden with the Sheriff's Department.
Oh,
I don't know.
I'm sorry. I didn't see you down there. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. I don't know why my name's not showing up, but
Right.
yeah, I can answer those questions.
Okay, great. Perfect. I'm sorry. Perfect.
No.
Okay. Anything else, Officer Marin?
That is it. Unless anybody has any questions for me, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Claudia.
So I recognize a lot of you. I am back. I got promoted, as some of you know, and I left. I had to go work the jail for a couple months, and I came what I consider home. I came back home to Moore Park, and again, I was assigned to be the beat coordinator for Santa Rosa Valley, which I love. And again, most of you guys know that my children go to Santa Rosa. Well, one already graduated. She's a freshman. So between picking up soccer practice, that's why today's my day off. I'm not in uniform, and I'm in my Jeep waiting for soccer practice to be over. That's how I roll, right? But I'm glad to be back. I'm here to answer any questions. Most of you have my email, very easy, claudia.holden@ventura.org for any questions that you may have. I wasn't gone that long. I was gone for 3.5 months, but like I said, I'm back. So if you don't have my email, it is my first name, Claudia, my last name, Holden@ventura.org. And you can reach me by email at any time. So what do I have new in Santa Rosa Valley? Well, I'm working night shift. So if you see me at 2:00 in the morning, wave because it gets lonely out there. But you guys are still getting hit with mail theft. So please remind your residents to bring in their mail every day if we can. I love the fact that the residents there call, because it gives me something to do when I'm driving around. I have my route: Barranca, Redondo, Priscilla, Escalera, and Barbara and Duval. I mean, 12 hours of driving there. I have gotten recent calls of suspicious vehicles. I've been able to stop them, ID them, and make sure that they're supposed to be there. Other than Rosemary had a question, Chilean theft crews, they're still very active. Luckily, knock on wood, Santa Rosa we haven't had any victims in Santa Rosa Valley, but they are still very active in the Thousand Oaks area. Why? Because again, most of you know that I was working detectives and that was my 24 hours was just chasing Chilean theft crews. Right now they're very active because the days are short, right? So people go to dinner 5, 6 o'clock, come back around 8, and they find that their house has been burglarized. So what I've told people is leave some lights on inside, maybe get some motion sensors that turn off your living room light, and then your upstairs bedroom comes on. That seems to work because it shows, or it appears that someone is home. But we haven't luckily had any victims in Santa Rosa Valley. The mail theft has. Also just not so much in Santa Rosa Valley, but in Moore Park, we've been getting a lot of catalytic converter thefts. So just be, most of Santa Rosa Valley, their homes the cars are inside their car and their garages are up in the driveway. So it's a little bit harder, but that is something that is happening throughout Thousand Oaks and Moore Park is catalytic converter thefts. That's all I have. I've only been back to Moore Park since December, so I'm still trying to get back into the swing of things. If you guys have anything for me, I'd love to answer. Email me, or you can, if you have questions now, I'm glad to answer anything.
I think we've all been on high alert because we did have some of those thefts in November and December. So I think we haven't had any in January, which I'm thrilled about.
Right. I know that they had some like off of Andalusia right prior to me getting here, but since me coming back in December, we haven't had any.
Yeah, I understand that there was a theft on Pradera, but you don't think that that was the Chilean theft group?
No, not at this time. We don't have any information on that. I mean, we have the Chilean theft groups have a very specific MO, and this one was a little different. So I know our detectives in the Moore Park Station they are working that case as they are working the other cases, but that's one of their cases.
Okay.
And just so you guys know, like the Chilean theft crews, our detectives in Moore Park work very closely with the detectives in Thousand Oaks. I mean, Thousand Oaks is also Sheriff's Department. We share a lot of information, and unfortunately, a lot of the same group that burglarizes Thousand Oaks come into our area. So there's a lot of information sharing, which helps us catch these groups.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I guess you're the one I should be saying congratulations to the 150 years.
Yeah, yes. So we did get the authorization to wear these special badges. They're really cool. It is to celebrate our 150 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any other public safety reports? Well, that will take us directly into visiting with Andrew. Where are you? Andrew Thomas, Southern California Edison, with an update and comments to give us how we're doing with the undergrounding project, as well as keeping us from further shutoffs on the Morgenstern, Steen, and Zone line. There we go.
If the screen is up and people can see it with a thumbs up or a smile, thank you, Shane and others. I say good evening, good afternoon, and Happy New Year. I usually stop at January 31st, but I figured I'd just stretch it into February for a day or two. Thank you to Shane and the Supervisor's Office, Super Gorell. Congratulations to the Santa Rosa Valley MAC Chairperson, Allison, and also to your members. Good evening. It's good to be back. Andrew Thomas, I was last with you in November, so it wasn't too long ago that I shared some information. And I and my colleague John Abbott are here not because, we have the solutions to world peace, nor all the challenges that are specifically to your area, but rather because we want to be responsive. As a vested partner in what happens in your area, we are responding to the supervisors and your requests for updates. And these will happen periodically throughout the year. And so it is also good to recognize a few faces. I just joined Edison about this time last year. I will attempt to go through these slides and definitely make some of this information available to you all. This first slide you see is actually the last slide from my presenting to you last time I was here. It would also be the last slide in this year's or this presentation, so you basically will know when I'm done, when you see the slide come up again. But more importantly, since undergrounding the entire valley at this point is not feasible, this information can lead to some access to resources like PSPS Alert, which you see at the top there. Customer service programs and backup battery programs are listed, so that it might be significant for you or for one of your neighboring residents until our hardening efforts continue to have a greater impact on reducing the need for PSPS events. So the partnering with the supervisor's office and with the council is to share this type of information, which can be forwarded, so you can make it a resource for your members and for your residents to get those valuable resources. One of the things that we all know, that the committee knows, is that Edison employs PSPS shutoffs. Hopefully they know it is as a last resort. When activated, Edison can employ resources like the community care vehicle you see at the top of the screen. And our men and women do work hard throughout and after PSPS events to try to reduce the event of occurring in the future. This slide shows the currently contracted locations, and I'll just go down one for that, because I think it's important that you know those contracted locations in your region for what we call our community resource centers, where our care teams are deployed to aid customers impacted by PSPS during the event. As you look at that list, some of those locations might be recognizable. I think I looked on and measured from the Santa Rosa Magnet School there in your area, that some of these locations are no more than 4 miles away. And this list that you see in front of you is available at SCE.com/outage center /check outage status. So these are where our people are deployed, where they were deployed over Thanksgiving, giving out resources, different things that could be available in case a PSPS occurs. And you could actually see the link that's down at the bottom of this the screen. Now, when I was last here, we talked about some efforts that are going on in your area. And so one of the updates is this undergrounding effort that you can see there as annotated by the red line. In November, I highlighted the undergrounding effort that is being led by Ventura County and your community. This effort comes under what's called the Rule 20A Undergrounding Utility Conversion Project. This effort resides with the county. 20A credits are used to fund these projects, and the red line is fully funded. Now, what Ventura County is doing and seeking collaboration with the local cities around them is to expand the scope of this undergrounding beyond the school that you can see in the left corner of the slide. And so I believe that my contact there, Jeff Pratt, who is the director of Public Works, has reached out to the supervisor's office. I definitely support their effort to extend this effort. And they are, again, seeking the other municipalities, Thousand Oaks, Moore Park, and others, for funding to support extending that undergrounding beyond. And that undergrounding effort, as some may say, has cosmetic benefits, but it also has significant benefits toward hardening the grid throughout that corridor. As that effort is ongoing and the county will update, and I'm sure speaking with the supervisor's office, there are other efforts going on. Hardening of the grid takes place by Edison through a lot of different mechanisms. Cover conductor is where those above ground cables are covered, fire resistant poles, protective devices, and as I mentioned before, undergrounding. One of the areas that where there is an undergrounding doesn't mean that improvement efforts are not being taken. So as we talked about the undergrounding effort before, these efforts are also being employed on different parts of circuits in your area. Another enhancement area also is the focus on inspections and vegetation efforts that are or will be taking place in the valley, and they're equally important to safety and reliability. And I would beseech you all to please, as you probably experienced in the past, support the outreach that you may receive regarding inspection and vegetation management. It is a critically important activity. Our vegetation management team even invites you to call at the number or the email address that you see there. The rains have caused a significant amount of challenge to trees that are leaning or threatening power lines. And at that number, they are out inspecting and looking for those now. But at that 800 number or at safetrees@sce.com, you can call for our teams to come out and inspect or mitigate that tree so it doesn't fall into any power lines or cause any toward effects. They do, again, welcome those calls. Again, this phone number and information, as I said, will be shared with the MAC, shared with the supervisor's office, so that you can, in fact, contact and utilize those resources. Now, the last time I was here, we talked about some efforts, the zone circuit being one of them. That screenshot you see there is a little difficult as far as coloration and seeing, but it does designate the area where the things that I talked about with cover conductor, vegetation management, and other things have been employed. You'll see there that the effort, and this is for the MAC and for the supervisor, that over recent times, there's been over 23.7 miles of existing overhead wire has been replaced with cover conductor. The operational protocols to raise the PSPS wind speed thresholds near the substation, as annotated in blue, are in place. There are switching protocols that add a great amount of options. So there's less effect on circuits. And then actually weather stations are installed, so there can be a better measurement and a response to the variability of weather in your corridor. All those things that have been employed have a very positive effect on reducing the customer outage time. You can see there where the weather patterns this year were significantly or at or just above 2021. But the reductions are significant when those weather patterns are matched to those windstorms that happened in 2020. So those efforts continue to take place on the Morgenstein circuit. That work has been more focused on some future activities will be happening either at the latter portion of 2023 at the beginning or in 2024. But there are studying models that are taking place right now so that they can measure what happened in November and see what mitigation efforts can be done based on those findings to reduce the incidence of shutting down or PSPS. Other circuits in the supervisor's district are currently being supported with installation of cover conductor and isolation switches. And I do have a gentleman on who just doesn't happen to be on because he likes community meetings, but he is with Edison as well. And he has a lot of experience in the area. So I would like to thank him for being on and introduce John Abbott, who leads crews that support efforts throughout our region. And I'd love to just give him an opportunity to share some thoughts about things he's experienced and the work he has kind of led in the area that would include the Santa Rosa Valley. John, do you have anything you want to share or give any updates?
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. It's a huge effort as you guys can imagine. And unfortunately for where the Santa Rosa Valley is and Thousand Oaks and Moore Park and Simi, our entire district is considered extreme high fire. So to Andrew's point about the inspections, we inspect every overhead structure twice a year. Any work that is generated from those inspections has to be completed within 6 months of the date of the inspection per the PUC, which generates a ton of work. Some of the things I've seen, I've been with Edison for 33 years. Thousand Oaks has been pretty much my home. I spent some time down in our metro areas in my career. But one of the things that we talk about, us guys have been around for a long time, is like this past rainstorm and the past several rainstorms. Years ago, that would have been catastrophic. And we've had very minimal circuit interruptions, which means, an entire circuit is out, where it could be 2,500, 3,000 people affected. Not saying we haven't had any, but we've had very few. We had more this week than we had during the rainstorms. And that was to what Andrew talked about, was the trees, the ground's moist, the winds pick up a little bit. So that's always a challenge. I couldn't possibly get into everything that we're doing, and not just in the Santa Rosa Valley, but throughout our territory, to make improvements and harden our system. I'd be happy to, and we've sat down in a face-to-face meeting and talked, because there's just so much detail that I think is impossible to share on a call like this, of what we do in our processes. But I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have, either now or whenever Andrew gets done.
This is Rosemary Allison.
Okay.
I'm noticing that we're talking about the zone circuit plan, and there was quite a bit of work done to that, which we're very appreciative of. But that serves a very small portion of our area. The bulk of our residents live in the Morgenstein zone
Right.
or circuit. And what I'd like to know is, what is your current implementation schedule to harden those wires?
Well, one of the things we've already done is we have replaced several poles on Santa Rosa Road and installed covered conductor in that area. But that's why I say it's kind of complicated, is as every time we go through a PSPS event, we learn, right? And we make corrections. So the zone, there's another circuit out of the Anton, we had the energy, they're not in your area per se, but those were the circuits that were impacted every time the wind blew. And we've hardened them in the last couple wind events. We haven't had to do anything to de-energize most of the time. Now, as we work through another PSPS, now the Brennan, which starts in Moore Park and ends in Simi, you got the Morgenstein that runs through the Santa Rosa Valley. Now we start looking at how are we going to harden those. And we have already installed poles, replaced covered conductor on Santa Rosa Road. And we will continue to do that as the work is identified of what we can do to harden the system. But we can't do it all at the same time, if that makes sense.
Are we on your schedule?
Is there work scheduled in the Santa Rosa Valley right now? I don't know, but I know that there's work being planned to harden the Morgenstein and the Brennan. We actually have a project on the Brennan, which starts in Moore Park and runs out through Simi Valley, through like the Reed Road area to a degree. But I don't know of any projects that are in our hands that we're working at this moment, but there's projects being planned to be worked.
Can I ask a question? And
Sure.
forgive
And if
me
I could,
Pardon?
no, go ahead.
Thanks. And forgive me if this is already addressed. So let's just say that you have two areas that have the same need for the hardening. How does it work with who gets it first?
Well, typically, if they're in the same ballpark, they would be worked at the same time.
And if I could add, there are, it's kind of a matrix of things. If you were to go to any given area and say, or recently we had the rains of at the end of last year that hit a certain part of the area and maybe not the hills of Simi Valley. So somebody could say, well, we got a lot of rain. Well, one area didn't get as much as another. And what I'm alluding to is this matrix looks at things not only of the equipment that's there, but the brush that's on the ground, other factors that kind of make it where there is a matrix that makes it an even exchange. So it's not so much that we pick areas that we're more comfortable in or areas that don't have terrain issues. There is a matrix that goes into factoring what area gets that support. Now, one of the challenges, if you will, is that the entire area that we all live in is a high fire risk area. So most areas have the same type of matrix. It's almost like when I was in college, if you got 3 seniors, you could get one of the apartments above the student center. Well, everybody, all the zones out here, all the areas have that same high priority, but it does go into a hierarchy of needs. And definitely as somebody who comes out to the MAC and shares with persons like John and others about your concerns, it does get ran up the flagpole. So there isn't an issue that nobody doesn't hear us. It's brought back to them and shared that the issues and challenges that are going on. And at times it's prioritized that if there are things that you guys point out to me and I'm sharing, that we can, kind of focus on certain areas one before another. Malibu, for example, has certain areas that where if a pole falls, it'll cut off ingress and egress as far as the ability to get into that area. So that pole, because it also has a factor that if it cuts off PCH and nobody can get out, we might look at that pole before we look at another pole that's in the same condition in the same area. So there are certain things that factor in to make
and that's
logical selection.
That's a great point, because when the fires were here at Hill Canyon, there's only one way in and there's only one way out. So
and those kind of things are important. So when you think about the idea that, hey, we want that one underground in particular, and the cost and other things that go with undergrounding, you definitely shouldn't balk at the idea that if we replace that pole or wrap that pole with fire resistant material, because that can have an equally beneficial aspect immediately versus the undergrounding that has cost and a later implementation. So there is, a rhyme and reason. And the inspections, as we just mentioned, where they're flying drones in certain areas, and you'll get a door stop or a note saying that we're coming to do the inspection. We greatly appreciate when those residents allow those things, because we're not looking for a Hoffa or the Holy Grail or anything else. We're trying to inspect a pole that may be 30 or 40 years old and needs some attention, and a drone is the best way to get to it. So those kind of things are factors and definitely important to look at. Were there any other questions? I know I may be taking a little bit more time than.
Yes, I had a question on this. So, as you know, in 2021, the power in Santa Rosa Valley was out for 17 hours on Thanksgiving Day. On 2022, the power was out again on Thanksgiving Day for 10 hours. The Saturday before Thanksgiving 2022, the power was out for 7 hours. So, after your presentation that you gave last time, Mr. Thomas, I went on your website and I did quite a bit of looking. I looked at your circuit maps. I wanted to see what circuit is supplying power to most of Santa Rosa Valley. And of course, it is the Morgenstein circuit. It comes out of the Moore Park substation, heads over towards Moore Park Road, and then on down to Santa Rosa Road, where it feeds a large network of underground wiring. What I also looked at your website to see what projects you have planned for the Morgenstein circuit, and I didn't see any. There was nothing there. So what we have is the majority of wire is underground here in Santa Rosa Valley, and the short stretch of wire that's feeding this underground network of distribution lines there are no plans on your website to do anything with that. And I think the Southern California Edison needs to start making that a priority, and I don't see that it is a priority right now.
Well, one of the things that in this presentation, and as I was here in November, the zone circuit that you see, it might still be up on the screen, not counter to what you just said, because you give evidence to that, is that is a snapshot from something called the expedited circuit enhancement, because that zone, or the zone circuit, has had a number of repeated PSPS outages between the 2020 and 2021 period. So it goes onto the expedited list. What's interesting is the Morgenstein in that same time period, and it's not on there because it didn't have as many. Now, that doesn't discount anything that you all there experienced, that the Morgenstein is the primary one that's there, but that attention that you might think is being given to the zone, which I'm sure you all agree is another important circuit, is because it actually had more outages in a time period leading up to the repairs. There is targeting that's being done. I did get some information about the Morgenstein. It's more toward the upper portion of that zone. But I definitely take into account what you said, and maybe another thing is the reporting information to make sure that you guys can see, as persons who are checking our websites, which we appreciate, can get the most accurate information on where the focus of attention will be. So I definitely hear you have I was here last time by myself. I'm here this time with one of our senior operations persons. So your issues are definitely heard, and the focus of where your region would like that attention to go has been heard, not only by me, but persons who are in operations. And we definitely will take that feedback back to our teams, and also update our systems so that you can see the work that is being targeted on areas that are most important to you.
Well, it seems like the formula that you'd want to use to determine which circuits to put your attention to should not only be how often the circuit goes down, but how many people is that particular circuit serving. And we have quite a few people here in Santa Rosa Valley that are being supplied by the Morgenstein circuit. And for that to go down every time there's high winds, it's not a good situation. And it's down for a very long period of time.
Yeah. Definitely. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to bring up the zone circuit update. When we had 17 hours on the Morgenstein circuit, the zone circuit went 4 days with no electricity. So there was a difference. The zone needed to be updated, but so does Morgenstein. So what I would like, but what I would like to see is that, and we very much appreciate what you did for zone circuit, because that was, a horrible situation for a lot of people. But what we would like to see is in your next meeting with us to see one of these schedules up for Morgenstein. It's just that simple.
Sure. Understood. I only had 1 or 2 more slides. I think your questions are probably more important, so I'll just kind of click through them quickly. But one of the things that I did share was the availability of another tool that you may look at, the capital improvement map, as you see it there, and as it's linked there, se.com/capital improvements. If you go there and actually put in Santa Rosa Road, there is a layer, a map, a list layer that you can pull up by distribution and other things. This happens to show poles, and if you hover over one of those locations, it'll show the name and the number of that pole, and it doesn't have its replacement date, but it shows the targeting for areas of pole replacements in your area. And there are other layers that you can put on there to see transformers and other things that are slated for repair. So this is another site that cites the repair efforts that are going on in any particular area. You can look it up for Santa Rosa or anywhere else, but it also gives you the Santa Rosa, or it gives updates to repairs that are slated for the area. So it's another tool, and we're continuously updating it. And coming up soon, we'll have a reliability report that we give out to each city, and I'll update and be coming back with the updates for the information that includes the 2022 performance, so you can get those updates, and I will share that with you as well. I said I would end with the last slide, would be like the first slide. This one I will stop on and say real quickly. I did present this last time. I will present it again. We give out a $50,000 scholarship to high school seniors. They're amassing the winners now. I hope that we will get a winner from your area. So when this comes out for this coming year, I will share it again for distribution. These dollars do come from shareholder and not from ratepayer. So it is definitely contributing to our communities, but I hope that it will also serve your area by getting a winner from your area. And finally, as I said before, this notes that I'm at the end of the presentation, unless there are any more questions, but we will work with the supervisor's office to share this information. Obviously, with Michael being somebody who has used a lot of these resources to find information. Information is very powerful for persons who may need it, for getting alerts that they need, for maintenance alerts. Do know that if you are on a meter for an area that's targeted for a maintenance repair, there is a cascade of notifications that will go out to let you know that we're coming to do that repair. PSPS is something that you have to sign up for notifications, but for maintenance repairs, you will get a notification. There are other customer reporting services and other resources there. Again, I work with Shane and Mark and the supervisor's office to make most available to residents instead of in this group that is very savvy on using such things.
Can I ask a quick question while you're on that? And this might be a little weird, but I had I can't speak for my neighbor, but I know something similar happened to her. But I had some gentlemen coming out. I work hybrid, sometimes in the office, sometimes at home, and they came to cut my redwood trees.
Okay.
And I said, "Oh, why would you be coming to cut my redwood trees?" And they're like, "Oh, well, it must have been the drone." So they knocked on the door. I was home. I said, "My redwood trees are nowhere near your lines." And so I took him out in the backyard, and he looked up, and yeah, he's like, "No, they're nowhere near that." So my question is, I know that my neighbor's tree got butchered. This probably isn't a question you can answer, but, or maybe just let me know where to. They started chopping her tree. Had I not been home, I'm assuming that they would have gone and saw, "Oh, wait a minute, no, this is a mistake."
Well, I would answer this way. I can look into it more. We have arborists who supervise and give guidance to our teams. So the only thing we're trying to do is maintain certain standards that the CPUC also endorses. So if that person or that group that came back there, if it was our crew, and in this instance, I'll assume it's your crew, our crews will identify themselves. You can ask for identification, but if it's our crew that comes back, or our contract crew, they'll show their identification.
But what happens when you're not home?
If you're not home and they are coming for a repair that we have access to, in the instance that you're talking about, if that tree is not in violation of the CPUC guidelines, they will not be trimming it unless it is actually in that guidelines that are established to that interference with those lines.
I got it. So, but let's just say hypothetically, if I wasn't home and let's just say it was in violation, do they just take care of it when you're not home? I'm just curious. It's not an accusation. I just
and I apologize. I think John may be able to throw some experiential learning in there. When you're not, I know they send out, we come out and say, we're doing inspections. We'll let you know we're in the area. So there's a door knocker or something that'll be placed on your door. But I will follow up with you, because I don't I mean, if it's an easement issue, I mean, we have that, but in this instance, they shouldn't just be, barging in. It's not like inspecting a meter or anything like that. But typically we're sending out notifications about our inspections, and there's communication with you as a homeowner about what's going on. So if you're not home, John, do you have any insight if you're not home when the inspection team comes through there?
Yeah, the way I understand it is that they notify, or there's some sort of communication that they're going to be out doing the inspections. The inspections generate the cuts when they send crews out to make the cuts. I would like to hope, and I don't oversee these guys, but I do work with them, that if they got to your house and looked and said, hey, this tree, I don't know, who wrote it up or whatever, it's not an infraction, that we wouldn't touch it. But I don't know. I also understood that before we cut a tree, that we were supposed to notify the homeowner that we were planning on cutting the trees. So did you not get notified that they were going to come trim?
Not at all. And the guy was really cool. I'm like, no way. And I'm like, come on back. And
now there is a part of the PUC, and this may have fit, I don't know, but if a tree could fall and take our lines down, that is also a clearance issue. But I would, I can take it back to the manager that oversees the trees, and if we had more information.
I'm just guessing that they're contractors, and I'm just
most of them, yes.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that there is a due diligence in making sure everything is kosher before.
Yeah, and we'll check on that, and to the degree that contractors should be following our standards as well. Included with arborists are the idea that we also conduct avian studies. So if there's nesting and other things going on, we take that into account. So nothing is truly, arbitrary and just deciding to go back and do something. We watch those migratory issues. We look at obviously the canopy of your city, vegetation-wise is important. So we have arborists and others that we consult, and those updates are given to us. And but I'll get that update as to what happens when you're not at home. I will do that.
Okay. Do you have any other slides that you want to go over with us?
Nope, this is the last one. I wanted to get to that.
What I know that you're working with Mark and Shane at Supervisor Gorell's office. I'm wondering if this will be available for them to view along with our minutes from the meeting.
This by way of the slide deck?
Yes.
I can make it available to them.
Great. I think that would be very beneficial for our residents to have this information to go to. But again, Andrew and Mr. Abbott, what I'm really hoping is that you will please continue to work on the Morgenstein circuit, and we would like you to come back with at least a future schedule as to when you're going to do more, so there is going to be less interruptions to our residents' lives. And honestly, I don't know if, even though you give us notice, I lost a server with your a computer server with the last shutdown. I mean, it does cause hardship. And even with the advance notice, unless you have a whole house system, which the majority of us don't, it does create financial hardship on us. So please, whatever you can do and as quickly as you can do, we would appreciate.
In conjunction to doing that, it's going to be that season coming up with Ventura County Emergency Services and other cities that we do it with. We do preparedness workshops. And if you look at the slide that's up on the screen that says community meetings, wildfire safety meetings, even that one has information as a YouTube video that says how you could prepare for outages and how you could safeguard things. So we're constantly going to be coming back to you, but coming back to the general public with information on how they can prepare, how they can safeguard their homes, and other tips that'll be helpful. So we're working behind the scenes, also trying to give information, resources. Yes, we'll be back, and we'll definitely continue to work to make sure we keep the lights on.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from any other councilman?
One quick question, since we have John, I think he might have the answer. The use of drones obviously speeds up what you guys are doing, makes your life more efficient. I wondered, on when you have to energize the system back online, you have to, after the wind event, you have to go through and inspect everything. And I'm hoping that you're using drone technology to speed that time frame up to where you could pre-program them to go through, take pictures of everything, and then have somebody quickly analyze those pictures because the drones fly, get the data. You don't have to send people in the field anymore to do the after wind event inspection before you can re-energize. Is that true?
Yeah. One of the things that we did this last event, last Thanksgiving, is we staged a helicopter at our Ventura office. And that's the reason, the time frames that were mentioned to how long the Morgenstein and the Brennan and different circuits had been out over the PSPS events, that we had that helicopter and we were praying that the wind would come down enough to where we could do that post patrol. We had a troubleman that was rested and could go patrol. He patrolled the Morgenstein and the Brennan, both in less than an hour, and we energized. If the wind would have persisted, we can't do that at night. We can't even do a lot of that with people on the ground at night. So we don't use drones necessarily for the post patrol, but we learned that, and we actually talked with the PSPS team, is that when we're looking at a significant event, that we should have that helicopter staged, and we worked to make sure the best we could. I mean, the wind was going to decide how long, but had that helicopter not been there, had we not learned from the past, then those circuits probably would have been off through the night. So it would have extended those outages. So I can't stress it enough. I know it seems like we're not doing a lot. We are doing a lot of work, and we do not want to turn you off. It is the absolute last resort, but we don't want to burn your house up either. So there is a tremendous amount of thought. There's a tremendous amount of monitoring wind speeds, moving people around on the ground to get accurate reads before we make that decision to actually de-energize. And then once de-energized, we want to get it back up as soon as possible, depending on the wind. So it's a learning every single time. Fortunately, this year with the amount of rain we got a lot of greenery. We could not have another PSPS event until the grass, dries out in next year. So hopefully it'll prolong anything from happening as far as PSPS until the end of 2023.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you all, and to the supervisor. Hope to, I think there's an event tomorrow. Hope to see you there and others. But thank you for your time, and I have the schedule of the next one is in March or May, and so we'll be definitely getting information back to you through the supervisor's office and through the councilman, through the members themselves.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Again,
Mr.
we
Martin.
look forward to your return, especially with that schedule for the Morgenstein run.
Thank you.
All right.
Stop
Our next
sharing.
item on the agenda is an action item, which is the recommendation of an ADU, junior ADU ordinance. Now, are we talking specifically about the request for the garage on Night Sky, or is this something different?
My understanding, this is the what is coming to the Board of Supervisors next week.
Okay,
The recommendation from the Planning Department for the ordinance for ADUs and JADUs. Is that correct?
That's our understanding on our end.
okay. Do you have a copy of the ordinance that's coming up?
It will be available tomorrow.
Okay,
I mean, possibly the supervisor's office has it, but it will not be available to the public until tomorrow.
I'll take a look, but in the meantime, we just have it. We've seen a draft, but I don't have it at my fingertips right now.
Right. So, on the other hand, we do have the replies to questions that I had asked in August of 22. And we got the reply on January the 24th. And I believe other members of the board received that reply. Is that correct?
I'm looking for it right now.
Yes,
No, correct.
yes.
I reviewed that before the meeting, Mark, and my main question was, it seemed like they kept going back to, well, what's the normal permitting process for considering the load of nitrate, the septic situation, like in every request is treated separately, and if they're going to put in a certain type of septic system, it'll be okay, and if they don't, it won't be okay. Is that what did I read that right?
Yes, they're basically saying that environmental health should deal with it on an individual basis. So if I may sort of give a short synopsis of the questions that I asked and the responses. Well, first of all, maybe other members of the MAC don't have this concern. My concern is that we have had for the last 20 years a restriction on lot size in the Santa Rosa Valley based on the fact that we are all on septic tanks, and that is creating a nitrate load on a groundwater basin that is already polluted and has been polluted for approximately the last 50 years. And at the end of the 1990s, the county came up with a formula for minimum lot size that would, based on the calculations that they made at the time, that would mitigate from further degradation of the groundwater. So, and we have a special lot size here in Santa Rosa Valley based on that, and have done for the last 20 years. So, the lot size for rural is 2 acres, and we have a special lot size here of I think it's 875 acres. So it's long been established that we have an issue with the groundwater. And just so we all understand, that groundwater is part of the drinking water that is used by Rosa to supply our drinking water. And the only way they can deal with it at this point is by basically, excuse the pun, watering it down with water from outside that's brought in from Northern California. So they then reduce the amount of nitrate to below a certain level. And there is a federal level of 40 parts per million. So that's the concern that I have, is that we've had this special issue for Santa Rosa Valley for 20 years in order to try and protect the groundwater. What I'm concerned is that we are now, due to this new law, potentially going to be facing an increase of the amount of housing that's in Santa Rosa Valley, potentially doubling the number of, or the amount of nitrate that is being discharged into the groundwater. So that's why I asked all these questions about what planning department was indicating that they would do. And they have, they have to deal with this department called the Department of Housing and Community Development, HCD. And those were my questions. Now, what it appears is the planning division is not prepared to take on HCD and go to bat to create an impact area, which we're already in, as far as the county is concerned, for Santa Rosa Valley. The planning division is saying based on this letter, and we'll see what happens when this ordinance comes out tomorrow, or the draft of the ordinance, they're saying they don't want to deal with it. They are not prepared to go up against the HCD. There's nothing in the law that says that this can't be done. The actual law that HCD, which is a department, is overseeing, there's nothing in the law that says that a local jurisdiction cannot create an impact area. In fact, it doesn't even discuss in the law what the rules would be for that. So this department, the HCD, is coming up with the rules. They haven't said what the rules are. They call it a high evidentiary bar. And planning has just backed off. They said, we won't deal with this. And we're just going to let the environmental health deal with it on a case-by-case basis. My concern is that, nobody is concerned about further pollution of our groundwater. So, we can make requests of the Board of Supervisors, but I would love to hear what the other. I understand there are people who want additional dwelling units, and I do understand that we have a housing problem in California. But I would love to hear what the other members of the MAC feel is the right response regarding this issue.
My response is that we have, as a matter of fact, I just pulled up the map that we were provided in August of 2021, telling us that there was restrictions in Santa Rosa Valley due to the Tierra Rajada groundwater issue. But I also am aware that the state of California has sued counties and cities over housing. So I don't know. As I last heard, county council was going to be giving the Board of Supervisors their opinion of how this was going to filter down and how it was going to affect us. I don't know if that has happened. And Jeff, I don't know if you're aware of it.
Well, what we will see tomorrow and what we'll be asked to vote on Tuesday will have gone through the county council's scrutiny. I haven't talked to the county council. She was just here about an hour and a half ago. I haven't talked to her about this particular issue, but I know that her office will look at it. I did meet with RMA. They did brief me on this briefly, I guess, to use that term twice. What they said was they evaluated what kind of scrutiny this would receive out of Sacramento, and that creating an impact area would be ultimately rejected in Sacramento. It would also potentially open up the possibility for a lot of other communities throughout Ventura County to just say, well, wait a minute, we're on septic too. We've got nitrates. We're an impact area as well. We have water aquifers. They said that what the impact area really was trying to do is to prevent people from trying to build ADUs in places that weren't really all that residential. But the places that were residential were really where the legislative intent was for these to be built. And they frankly wanted the cities and the counties to work out the problems that would develop after that. And that could be in sewage, that could be utilities, that could be traffic. That's our problem, essentially. Having been a former member of the California State Legislature, I will tell you that I'm not surprised that the legislature acted in a way that was pretty draconian here. I do think when they created this ADU, when they created ADU mandates and housing mandates in general, they really weren't thinking in their head of communities like Santa Rosa Valley that just don't have the infrastructure and are really dependent on groundwater, a lot of septic tanks, all septic tanks, possibly. But nevertheless, they're hesitant to create any kind of carve out for fear that it's going to undermine this push statewide to create millions of new units, because so many communities would be eligible. My gut tells me, and I've only been doing this a month as a county supervisor, my gut tells me that I can push RMA to give some more details before Tuesday's vote. It's unlikely that we'll get changes between now and Tuesday in what we're asked to vote on, but I can ask and probe further than what was delivered here for Mark's questions, because he did raise some concerns that I think are noteworthy about the responses. And then secondly, it's not unthinkable to ask for the legislature to look more closely at this and to focus our attention and my attention and Mac's attention on Jackie Irwin and other members of our legislative delegation. They've recently done carve-outs for Thousand Oaks on other things. She has been successful in identifying carve-outs and otherwise significant statewide mandates. I would, if it's the desire of this MAC, and if the MAC votes to opine, I think I would take that for action and move in that direction as the way to address this. And those two things. So I'll hand it back to you, Madam Chair, and just those are kind of top of the mind responses and questions.
Rosemary, can I ask a question? I mean, does this agenda, this topic warrant a special meeting? We don't have a lot of time.
Honestly, I think it's very hard for us to give, our vote or supervision until we see what the ordinance says. I mean, honestly, I think it's very hard for us to kind of guess what's going to be on that paper. And I think that due to that, especially as it is going to affect us, that a special meeting is warranted. The next meeting that we have scheduled isn't that far away though. And honestly, we're not going to have, Jeff, when is your vote on this?
Tuesday.
Oh,
We don't have much time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'd like to read it. I'd like to read it too. But the sense I get just talking to a resource management agency head this week on the issue is that all counties are being asked to do this. We've got a deadline to pass this, or else we end up becoming, we've missed the deadline. And if we as a county miss the deadline, we come under penalties as a result of that. So I think the vote on this will likely be unanimous, but I don't know. I haven't heard from any of my colleagues and their Brown Act issues, but certainly I want to read it, and then we'll look forward to that. I'm skimming right now because they've been updating the draft agenda that's out there. And I'm kind of toggling between this Zoom meeting and to see if anything's posted. Mark, have you looked tonight?
I have not looked tonight, but here's the reality, and we all know this. There's going to be nothing in the proposal from RMA planning that discusses anything to do with any impact area restrictions for Santa Rosa Valley. We know that because they basically told us that in the letter that we received in January the 24th. So what I'm going to suggest for the MAC is that we come up with some sort of wording where we, quote unquote, support an ADU ordinance that we can be sure does not increase the nitrate load on the Santa Rosa Valley groundwater basin. Something along those lines, and that the county, and as Supervisor Gorel suggested, county works with other members of the legislature to make sure that we can have a protection from further impact to the groundwater. Something along those lines, I think, is maybe the best thing we're going to come up with. Seeing the ordinance, it's not going to make any difference, in my opinion. I know perfectly well that ordinance will not have anything to say about Santa Rosa Valley, because they basically, everybody wants to be sure that they get through HCD and get that and get this done.
Well, I would like to have it refer to the study that was done that, you know, I believe it's called the Tierra Rajada. I'm trying to find it. The Tierra Rajada water impact.
Well,
There was actually a study.
yes, we have this, it's called the Arroyo Santa Rosa Tierra Rajada Groundwater Quality Impact Area. That already exists based on that study.
See,
That exists
wanna
now
I want to refer to
in
that.
the county. The other stopgap for us in Santa Rosa Valley is having the county make sure that the environmental health takes a look at what's going to happen to Santa Rosa Valley, because planning division sort of has to approve it because they've got a mandate from the state. Environmental health, and then it goes to building and safety, and then it goes to environmental health and all of these other departments. Environmental health, you know, can look at what the issues are in Santa Rosa Valley and make some sort of restrictions if they feel like, and that's separate from the law about the planning and RMA having to create an ordinance. Am I correct in that, Supervisor?
But we certainly can amend this. The Board of Supervisors can act in the future to modify what takes place on Tuesday, without a doubt, as long as it's, you know, within the four corners of the legislative mandate. I did, by the way, Mark, since I've got the microphone, I think I found they posted it and I linked to it in the chat. So if you want to take a look at that later.
Oh, it's up now? Okay, we're hardly going to be able to
I posted a link.
read it in the middle of the meeting, but yes.
I posted a link to it.
It's
Yeah.
actually out.
Certainly, the discussion's not over after Tuesday. I think,
No.
you know, they need to look at the environmental impacts and potential impacts to the water, to the aqueduct. And so we'll figure out, me and my staff will figure out and map what that looks like, post Tuesday, and let you know.
All right. Well, I'm going to try and make a motion that's sort of along the lines of what I just said. Is there any other comments before we do that?
Yeah, I'd just like to add that, you know, since the state is coming down on us for this, they've also come down on the Groundwater Sustainability Act. Okay, and our basin is grade 4, 5 being the worst. So because we are a 4, we have to spend thousands of dollars coming up with a sustainability plan of how to get our basin out of that situation. And our basin is in that situation because of nitrates. Okay, so the state on one hand is telling us, you got to clean up your basin, you got to have a plan. Cam Rosa is spending thousands of dollars to do this plan. And here we're going to shoot a hole right in it if we start popping in ADUs everywhere that keep, you know, increasing the load. So, you know, right there, I think maybe the county level doesn't have anything to say about it, but Jackie Irwin maybe could go to bat with us at the state level to say, you know, HDU or whatever that department is, you need to like consider ground basins that are rated 4 or 5 to have some sort of exemption. I mean, that would probably cut out a lot of the rural areas that Jeff's talking about, that everybody would jump up and want to have that. But if they don't have a groundwater basin that's, you know, impacted by ADUs in the way ours will be, then they don't have a leg to stand on if that's the definition. Thank you very much.
I will see Jackie tomorrow, so I will take that opportunity to find out what she's hearing, presumably from her constituents in Santa Rosa Valley, and then I'll socialize this with her, and then we can follow up later with something substantive.
Right.
The only thing I'd like to add to this is that there is a map out. There are areas of Santa Rosa Valley that weren't part of this study zone that, you know, if you look at that map from August of 2021, that there are areas that I think it needs to get linked back to this Tierra Rajada study. And and how the impact is. And just like Kevin mentioned, that, you know, you can't tell us that we are responsible to improve the water quality and then give us the snafu. But if you read that or look at that map, it isn't the entire Santa Rosa Valley that was kind of off limits to having ADUs. So that way, I think if we just stick with what is already in print, which is a map with the report that shows a sustainable reason why our feelings is that way. I don't want to just do it as blanket Santa Rosa Valley.
I hate to think out loud, but here it is. I wonder how many people out there, and there's no way really to kind of test, but one of the questions I asked at RMA is, do they know the statistics on how many people build an ADU and then put somebody who's already in the household into the ADU? You know, a member of the family just stays in the ADU. So it doesn't increase the population, doesn't increase environmental impacts necessarily, or traffic. They didn't have that, but they were going to look for it. They thought it might exist. The other question is how many people in Santa Rosa Valley would truly build an ADU to rent out separately for a new constituent, a new tenant, a new impact on the environment. And I don't know the answer to that. I'm not convinced this is a panacea for the state's housing crisis, and I'm not sure why they do, but I nevertheless see what what they think that they're trying to accomplish. But anyhow, if I get to any kind of that data, I'll let you know. Or if there's any way to get some feedback from the people that live and own property in Santa Rosa Valley as to what their intentions might be.
Jeff, the people that I know that live in Santa Rosa Valley that have guest houses or ADUs now, I would say 85% are rented to other individuals who are not related.
100%. I live on Barbara Drive, and I remember speaking with somebody, it was a gentleman, it was during fire season, and he showed me there are, I think this is the oldest residential street in Santa Rosa Valley, if I'm correct.
It is.
So you have people that have 2, sometimes 3 back structures, and it's like parking in Manhattan here. They're all rented out.
Yeah. Your
100%.
street and Jennifer are the oldest.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful feedback.
Yeah. So
Okay, so I'm going to suggest, I'm going to make a motion that the MAC recommends to the Board of Supervisors that any ADU ordinance comes with mitigations that would ensure that the Arroyo Santa Rosa Tierra Rajada groundwater quality impact area is not further
Negatively affected.
Negatively affected with increased nitrate load. And how we do that is we can talk to Jackie Owen or whatever. That's great. What do we think about something along those lines?
I'd like to add in another clause saying that if it does, that if something is there, that the county mitigate just as Kevin mentioned, if we are going to be responsible to fix that, and we don't support it, I think that that isn't an expense that the residents of Santa Rosa Valley should bear.
Okay, that seems like an odd thing to say to the Board of Supervisors.
Okay.
What I said to the Board of Supervisors was a simple recommendation.
Okay, all right, let's go back with yours. Yeah.
So I'm going to make a motion that's our message, and I can't even remember what the message is. Is Shane writing any of this down? Because that was very helpful for us previously to get these written down, and then we sort of read them back, and then we adjust them.
Yeah, no, it's all being recorded, Mark, including your swearing in ceremony. So just like in Severance,
very important part.
They can play that back, at any point.
All right, fine. Then I will stand with what I said before. What do we think about that? It's basically a message is, please don't let this impact our nitrate when you do the ADU ordinance. and come up with solutions to that.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion?
The only thing I'll say is I think that's about as best as we can do. I think as Mark pointed out, we're not going to be able to fight the state. But we can take some measures to help prevent the groundwater from being further contaminated.
Again, with this, when this is sent to the Board of Supervisors as the recommendation from the MAC, I would like the study, the Santa Rosa and Bar Park Tierra Rajada Valley water survey to be incorporated, as well as, Kevin, your information regarding the water and how we have to mitigate it.
Well, it's the two things were the impact study that Mark put in his motion, and what I added was just the effect it's going to have on our Groundwater Sustainability Act that's in the process, the plan that's in the process of being finalized as we speak.
Yeah, I'd like to have those two referred to in the proposal. Okay. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And-
Okay.
And I think that's great, for Supervisor Gurel to offer to work through state JECO and to come up with help us on that. I think that's a great idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, it's not that we want to go against the ADUs. It's just that we have an issue. We have homes that aren't allowed to have horse properties because of the nitrate levels. And we keep being told that we've got to lower the nitrate levels of our soil. And it's a catch-22 for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just, this is like separate, if I may. At some point, and you mentioned this, Kevin, the Regional Water Quality Control Board has been looking at our nitrates for a long time. And at some point, they could say to us and override the non-sewer aspect of county laws and say that we have to put sewer lines in Santa Rosa Valley because that would be the way to ensure that no more nitrate load came from housing. And if that happens, who do you think is going to pay for it? Us.
It would be enormous.
It would be enormous. So that hasn't happened yet. They've been very good about it. It's been going on for 20 years, but that is a potential danger in the future.
With our lot sizes, the cost of laying those lines would be
It would be extraordinary.
it would crush people. Okay. All right. The next action item, MAC consideration of homes inadvertently left out of MAC boundaries. When our MAC was established, there had been a little section of Priscilla Road that had been inadvertently left out. We recognized this when Kevin Cannon came onto our MAC because his address was not part of our MAC jurisdiction, which made no sense because it's part of Santa Rosa Valley. So our map was redrawn to include Kevin Cannon's address. Well, unfortunately, when they did it, there were two homes that are flag lots that, although the jurisdiction went across, because these were flag lots in the back, they were not included. They were simply inadvertently left off. And we need to, these residences are part of Santa Rosa Valley. We honestly need to incorporate them within our map. Oh gosh, you're going to ask me the addresses, I'm sure. And of course I don't have them.
I want to know who it is.
I have the addresses here.
Oh, thank you.
That is 11365 and 11375 respectively, Priscilla Road.
Yes. One is owned by Warren and Maria Nelson.
I don't think we should mention all the names. It's ridiculous. Obviously, they should be in it.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a.
All right, I'll make a motion. We change the MAC boundaries to include these houses that got left out.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion?
But just real quickly, I think what happened was somebody drew a line on the computer, and because it's a flag lot, that parcel was, but
Right.
it was like before, when I was out of it, it was because I was on the north side of Priscilla and thinking, well, the north side of the street belongs to Moore Park. No, we can't get to Moore Park from Priscilla. We have to drive down through Santa Rosa Valley. So, I mean, a ridge line could be in either one, but the fact that we have no way to drive to Moore Park doesn't make sense to them not be included with Santa Rosa Valley. That's it.
It was just a simple little mistake. So let's rectify that mistake.
Question.
Uh-huh.
So when the boundary was created, should the boundaries be drawn along the lot lines in order to be fully included in the map? So in other words, do we need to look at these two addresses and say, okay, that property extends out to here and we need to run the boundary all the way around their lot? Or because I'd hate to see us change the boundary line again and then find out, oops, it's still not a valid boundary.
Well, it would be a valid boundary by incorporating those two residences. But whether or not there's additional residences that we're not aware of that were accidentally left off, we don't have a list of all the addresses. So it's awfully hard for us to gauge that unless somebody says, we got left out by accident.
But on the map, is the boundary line just needs to include the housing unit, or does it need to include their entire lot?
I would guess the entire parcel.
Yeah, the entire parcel.
The whole, whatever that APN is, you'd think that would be what should be included.
Right.
Okay.
This, just to chime in, I'm sorry to interrupt, but this may be a moot point, because if the MAC votes to include those residents, this has got to go through a lengthy process, I'm told, including the LAFCO local area formation organization. And I think back to the Board of Supervisors. And then, so this will be worked out at LAFCO with the people that work on maps and plan these kind of things. So I would just recommend maybe just general direction, including, and then we'll lock it in from there so that it's legal. We'll get all the lawyers to make sure they know what's going on.
Right. So we're only making a recommendation that these two residences be added to the MAC boundaries because they are within the neighborhood jurisdiction of the Santa Rosa Valley MAC.
Well, I'm concerned that there might be others that we just don't know about that are on Priscilla, because we already did this one time with Kevin. So is there some department or someone who can go and look at?
Is there a map we can look at that'll show us what maybe was left out?
I've never seen that detailed of a map of the MAC boundary. It's all like got a huge line across it.
No, it exists. I was on the Ventura County mapping application, and you can pull up our boundary. And what would be interesting is, Priscilla, that access I was talking about, it ends at the locked gate at the west end of Priscilla.
Mm-hmm.
Those people have Hitch Road to be able to get down to Moore Park, but they've also been coming to the MAC with issues like they feel like they're part of the Santa Rosa Valley, even though they're behind that locked gate, that they could be considered. But I'm just saying everything east of that gate should definitely be in the MAC boundary, because like I said, we have to go down through Santa Rosa Valley to get home. Are
you talking about the west gate?
The west gate, yeah.
Okay, those people feel like they're part of Santa Rosa Valley.
I know, that's what I'm saying. But if you looked at the MAC boundary, I bet some of those might not be.
We need to look at a map so that we can actually look at what's been left off.
Right.
So,
well, our motion could be that we want everybody that, I don't know how far it would go. Like it turns into Worth Way. It's like we have to come up with
right before it turns into Worth Way.
maybe where it's Priscilla turns into Worth Way. I don't know where that is, but
I know Hagglrod, I mean, there's a bunch of people that live there that consider themselves in Santa Rosa Valley.
yeah, but it's an interesting thing because when we asked, should we expand out further west to those people that are on farms, we said, no, we're not going to include them, even though they've come to the MAC with wedding requests and stuff. So MAC boundaries, interesting. I mean, Jeff, it's not aligned with your supervisor boundary, is it? I mean, that's what I thought was a simple no-brainer, that Linda Parks's residents that have Santa Rosa Valley addresses should be in the Santa Rosa Valley MAC.
Right. Yeah, well,
Right.
that's the question too. Are they a part of your district or Janice Parwin's?
I haven't looked at the MAC boundary map. I mean, what we can do is just maybe, it sounds like there's a lot of speculation. Maybe my staff can reach out and try to find a map and an overlay and see if we can make sense of this, and then look at match it up to just the second district map and just see what makes sense. Flagging for the county staff that does these kind of things, that we've left out some homes that logically should be in there. Particularly on Priscilla, but maybe others. So we'll see what recommendations they come back with, you know, and then maybe the MAC can consider it at that point.
And possibly Lexington Hills.
It really won't be an issue until the next election because you can still make recommendations on their behalf if you'd like. No doubt, it's just more of an election issue than a representation issue.
Okay.
Well, Lexington Hills is in the MAC, right? It's already in the MAC. When you mentioned Lexington Hills.
For some reason, I thought at one point I was told that some of them weren't.
Okay. I agree. We should get somebody who's in.
We need to look at a real
for the county, you know, review which ones are left out. I mean, obviously we want to bring in these two particular ones. I mean, but I think we should review the other ones.
Okay. So we're going to hold off on this until we get the map.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Council comments on issues not on our agenda.
Who's going to go first?
Go ahead.
I got a few things. One is I wanted to ask if Jeff is aware about our community beautification events. So during COVID, they stopped having those, which is basically at the Santa Rosa school, they bring in dumpsters and residents can go to the school to dump things, and they replace those events with free landfill days. But now that COVID's over, I'm wondering if the county department will schedule some of those for 2023 here. We used to have 2 a year, I believe. Correct, Rosemary? Whatever.
I remember one right around Mother's Day.
Okay, yeah, maybe we just have one, and we also have landfill days as well. But at any rate, that's something that I hope we get one of those this year. I have a lot of palm fronds I need to trash.
You know, okay, we'll look into that. Do you know who the lead agency was? Was it Resource?
I meant to look that up, but I can email that to Sean. I know the agency and the lady that used to coordinate those, so I'll send that to Sean.
Maybe.
Okay.
Okay. The other thing I had was I wanted to mention the Firewise efforts have been on hiatus. I did a presentation at the last meeting. You know, this is a designation that we can earn if the residents go about doing their normal weed clearance, but also maybe signing up for home hardening, which I have actually done, scheduled a home hardening evaluation. And this all ties into the weed clearance for next year is going to be a little bit more different than previous years in that the state has finished their new maps, and Ventura County Fire has been actually working with the state to come up with the new standard guidelines for what's defensible space. You've heard about the 5 feet away from your house, you can't have anything. So that conceivably could hit next year when they inspect. So to get ahead of that, we can do this home hardening evaluation, and it'll tell you that, yeah, that's probably what you need to do to reduce your fire risk. And if we can get that designation, which, you know, I went through the steps we have to go through, but it'll get us maybe some free chipping days with some grant money. Maybe we get an evacuation plan for our livestock and horses that need to evacuate. And from the supervisor's office, when we get that far, we're going to need to mail all the residents like a notice of this town hall meeting that we want to have to get everybody excited about doing all this stuff, this volunteer hours, because we don't get the designation without accumulating a certain number of volunteer hours to mitigate our risks. And so that mailing would need to get paid for. So the other thing, Jeff, is I don't know if you're aware, but we are not funded with any tax dollars. The Santa Rosa Valley MAC is not like the Oak Park MAC that has a source of income.
Budget.
A budget. So we do everything on the cheap, and a lot of times it's our more wealthy council members that'll pitch in the money. But so we hope that when we get that far, that you can at least spring for a mailing, and maybe we put it as part of your newsletter that goes out or something. But at any rate, an advertisement to all the residents that we're going to have this big town hall meeting, but it's going to be sometime in 2023. I just have to get off the dime and start getting it organized. I do have a volunteer tonight. It looks like Mark Roddy is interested in this whole Firewise thing. So I'm going to recruit Mark onto my team. And I don't know if you had any questions. Sean wanted me to bring you up to speed a little bit, Jeff, about what Firewise is. I said,
yeah, thank you. Shane showed me the document you uploaded and also the process. And it's not an agendized item for tonight, I don't think. So we're not going to take any action on it, but it's good information and it makes a lot of sense. And I would just ask maybe the MAC members in your individual neighborhoods to poll your neighbors to see what kind of interest they have and moving to this level, including in limited, but not limited to potentially putting in some volunteer hours. Yeah, I think it might make sense. It does have an end impact on fire insurance, I think. Meaningful impact that may be worth the heavy lift for it, but our office stands by to support, and we'll just I guess probably table this till the next MAC meeting, but get as much information as we can until then.
okay.
Kevin, do you think we're in a position to make this an action item in the next meeting?
No, actually, I got to back that out because this Firewise council or community committee is going to be separate from the MAC. So it's not really the MAC sponsoring. It's really Ventura County Fire Safe Council and those resources are going to help the new committee that we put together pull this off. And so it'll act just like a MAC, meet separately and plan meetings and do this outreach thing. So we won't be coming back to the MAC, except for the supervisor. We're going to need support to get out the word, and for you, Rosemary, to use your email list to get out the word. That's it. Okay.
All right. Okay. Any other public comments on items not on the agenda?
These are
Well, I had
council
a
comments. We're still on
Michael.
council comments.
Okay, wait. I'm looking at Michael Adams. His arm's up.
Yeah.
Let me grab him.
Yeah, I just, one council item that, that we've discussed in the past and that, we want to have on our radar is the dark sky / light trespass issue, and try to get a feel for, what the community wants there. I did find out that Malibu now has implemented the dark sky ordinance. Now, I know we talked about the Yerba Buena area, but this is the actual city of Malibu. They now have one. So something, that we want to have for future meetings. And there was an email that went out that I think Shane might have sent that out, that they did research, or he did research, do we have any kind of a ordinance now that would restrict someone from putting light trespass on another residence? And there apparently is no ordinance right now at all.
I thought there was some sort of ordinance about shining light onto a next door neighbor's property. Maybe I'm wrong.
thought that was a nuisance.
Yeah, so did I.
Okay.
Are you done, Michael?
Yes, that was the only thing I wanted to bring up. Mhm.
All right, I have a couple of things. First of all, I would like to give a report on the Stepping Stones writing program, which
Yeah.
we voted to have the county parks people look into moving them onto Santa Rosa Valley Park. The writing program had met with members of the Parks Department. In principle, they've got it in other places, and in principle, it seems like it should be quite doable. They met with them at the end of last year, sent in some paperwork, and have since then been waiting to hear for the Parks Department to come back with us to them. I'm just wondering if Shane could maybe put in either an email or a call to the Parks Department. The person that they were dealing with was Coulter Chisholm, who you may remember came and talked to us about what was happening in the park. I'm just wondering whether he's still there at the Parks Department and that's why he hasn't got back. And if that doesn't work, maybe you could reach out to Jerry Cooper, the parks manager, and just say what's happening with moving forward on the Stepping Stones writing program in Santa Rosa Valley Park. That would be great. And Shane, I will put you in touch directly with the two members who are both actually on this call today of the Stepping Stones writing program. I'll do that offline so that you have that connection. The second thing I'd just like to bring up, this is sort of a long-standing thing that's been going on. I just wanted to bring Supervisor Gorell and his staff up to speed on this. We had a Santa Rosa Valley debris basin, which is kind of a levee that was just north of Santa Rosa Road in Bridlewood. That debris basin is part of the trail system, and the trail runs through where that debris basin was. The county, the water department, or sorry, flood control department, decided to remove that, which was fine. They also went to a lot of trouble to design and build it so that the trail was still accessible, or actually more accessible even than it was before. They spent quite a lot of money on that. There then were some issues to do with, one of them was one of the owners of the property that owns some of the land that's in the debris basin filed a lawsuit against the county and also the homeowners association. That I think is either nearly resolved or was resolved with one of the parties. The actual trail is not on where that property was, and the trail has been consequently shut for the last 3 years. And that is one of the things that we would really like to get that back open again. I know that some of the issues are a discussion between the county and the Bridlewood Homeowners Association about exactly what their responsibilities will be there. Just the last thing is that this trail, apart from being part of the horse trail, it's also a trail that children go and they walk up to Alicante, is it? No, not Alicante. Vista Grande, one of those two streets. So the street that's opposite the school. They walk on the trail and they get up onto that street, and then they can go across where the light is so they can get to school, walk to school without having to go on Santa Rosa Road. So it's not just a horse trail; it's also potentially, a safe way for children to get to school. So we'd love to put that on sort of on our radar. And I suppose maybe the first question would be with County Council, where they stand with all the lawsuits and the discussions with Bridlewood. So just if I may, I would bring that forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll look into it.
Okay. Let's see, did anybody else have anything to talk about? I have one item to bring up, which was when we had these floods recently, I discovered I work with the evacuation of horses from areas with the county, with the animal control department, and Vicky Torres, who works there. But anyway, one of the situations that came up was the fact that the horses that were evacuated because of flood conditions could not go to the Ventura County Fairgrounds because that is in a flood control. It's below sea level, and unfortunately it gets flooded. So one thing that I was working with the people of the county, we didn't know whether or not the next rain was going to be horrible. As it was, there was quite a few horses that died due to mud problems in an area which was Santa Paula. But because of that, one thing that I thought of is the fact that we do have our beautiful Santa Rosa Equestrian Park. And I would like to see us working towards that becoming a staging area in the case of floods for other people to be able to bring horses to. And I've spoken to people at Animal Control, Donna, who's the head, who loves the idea. And of course, we would need to work with the County Board of Supervisors. But I wanted to get your input on that as board members.
I think it's a great idea in principle. The reality of taking horses to somewhere is you need somewhere to board them. So
Well, we're talking about staging, a staging area.
Okay, so what would it be? What would it be apart from being a staging? I'm not quite sure what you're suggesting.
Well, what happens is when these horses get moved, you know, it would be good to have a staging area to take them to and then assign where they're going. Because some of the problems are horses leave and people don't know where they've gone. So that was kind of one of the problems in the past with the fires. So the idea was to find a staging area, not specifically boarding. And apparently the county has temporary stalls that they can bring in. But honestly, what Vicky was talking about was utilizing our parking lot for the trailers so that people come in with trailers of horses and then they're assigned to what ranch they're going to go to for temporary housing.
Well, I think anything we can do to help in these cases is great because, you know, I have both evacuated my horses to the fairgrounds and had people evacuate horses from other areas to my property. So as long as, you know, you're not suggesting that it's like somewhere where they're going to stay, because that would require, maybe you can bring in temporary stuff, but it's a big deal.
Okay, what I would like to do is add to the next agenda, Vicky Bielek, who works for Animal Control, so that she can tell you kind of what, because she's kind of been head of large animal evacuation in Ventura County.
Very supportive. Let's put it on the next agenda.
Okay.
Maybe we can offer free baths in the fishing pond while the horses are there too.
I love that idea. What happened with the fishing pond? Anything new? So anyway, I think we were asking them questions about the water and they haven't come back to us yet.
No.
Okay. All right. All right, now that we've done that, are there any members of the public that would like to have some comments on items not on the agenda?
I'm sorry to interject here. I saw that Jen Bell has had her hand up for quite a while in regards to the nitrate situation.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't see her. She's not on my gallery screen.
There she is. She's there.
Okay. All right.
I don't see her hand up though.
Okay.
It was. I think she gave up.
Okay, Jen, I'm sorry. This is the time for public comments. So why don't you go ahead?
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Well, topic has already been voted on, so I don't know if I'm allowed to speak on this, but it's about the ADU and the Santa Rosa Valley Arroyo Tierra Rajada Basin issue with the ADU thing.
Yeah. For some reason, I don't see you at all. I'm just looking at a little.
Yeah, I had my hand up and I was like, what the hell? I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. I don't see you. Again, I apologize. I just don't see you on the screen. I'm just seeing, like the little.
Jen, why don't you give us your comment?
Right.
Okay. Well, I don't understand. Mr. Supervisor Gorell is going to talk to. I would like clarification how this process is going to happen before it goes to the Board of Supervisors on Tuesday. Because my concern is I drink the water here. And this is going to be a big impact on us. And I also live near Barbara Drive, which is the oldest first subdivision of Santa Rosa Valley. It is a higher density than any other part of the valley. So you're going to add more housing, which I understand California needs, but you're also impacting our area. It's a high fire area. You're impacting more people. But bottom line is this water issue, drinking water. And my understanding, according to the critical impact area of Arroyo Santa Rosa, and it's under critical impact, not just an impact. What are you going to do for us in this situation? I understand you said you're going to review it, but are you actually going to do something about it before the Board of Supervisor meeting?
Well, this comes from a mandate from the state of California with strict scrutiny around it. That's something you can't navigate according to the folks that have looked at this. There's nothing that I would probably be able to do to thwart this being passed on Tuesday. I could abstain or I could vote no. It's still going to pass 4-5. This is a policy that was developed under my predecessor, and a policy that was developed by a board that has been newly reconstituted. So there's only so much that can be done between now and Tuesday. However, there's the problem isn't with the county ordinance. The problem is with the state mandate that says they don't care about waivers, they don't care about exceptions. They want these built in areas that are already residential. So that's a situation we're in.
But my understanding is in the first paragraph of this mandate by the state is that accessibility to water is factor numero uno. And if drinking water is a factor, which it is in this valley, then that is the exception that is allowed.
I think that what was described earlier as the next course of action is to get the water, the other agencies at the county who oversee water quality and the state to look at this. And if it does rise to the level, if Santa Rosa Valley does rise to the level of meeting criteria for an impact area, then we will bring that back to the board to take action on it. That is something that's just not going to happen between now and Tuesday, but certainly can happen afterwards.
So in that timeline afterwards, so in the meantime, ADUs can be permitted and go through the process? Or specifically speaking, I know of a neighbor that is planning and wants to build an ADU on a parcel that's only a half an acre. Prior and currently, as Mark Burley has stated, I believe it's 3.9 acres is what's currently allowed since 2021 for 20 years to have an ADU. It's the minimum parcel allowed is 3.9 acres because of the nitrates.
I don't have any reason to believe that the process couldn't be started almost immediately. But that doesn't mean that the process of evaluating the environmental impacts couldn't also start.
So who's going to oversee the making sure that the process actually is evaluated correctly with the Department of Environmental in the Ventura
As I
County?
understand it, once they get this, even if this ordinance passes, that means it's permitted. Then the next thing is it has to go to building and safety. It has to be reviewed by the fire department. It has to be reviewed by the environmental health department. All of those people are going to have input into whether this thing is built. So it's not going to happen in a hurry. Excuse me for sort of jumping in there, but I feel like this is not going to, a house is not going to start being built immediately. And as supervisor said, nothing's going to happen between now and Tuesday. And then, you know, the county can look at what the impact is going to be to our groundwater and maybe come up with some mitigations.
Yeah, that's my question. The timeline between Tuesday and when will that be reevaluated and addressed? Between after the meeting, Board of Supervisors meeting on Tuesday, which Mr. Gorell is saying it's going to pass. What's the timeline when this will be revisited again and addressed?
I don't know. I don't have the timeline at my fingertips. I don't know when they would expect to do it. I think a lot of the response would be triggered by applications for the construction of ADUs. It wouldn't be I don't think there would be a proactive evaluation, although I'll ask for that. But I'm happy to ask for that. But in terms of the things that Mark outlined, and you know, building safety, fire department, all of the permitting process, those would trigger environmental scrutiny to some extent.
Yeah, I understand. I know the process, unfortunately. I'm just concerned that they're just going to go, well, building and safety, because we've seen it. And actually, Mark brought it up in a meeting prior, that building and safety will say yes. And then another department, well, building and safety said yes, so we'll say yes.
Well, the MAC's not going to meet until for a while, but that doesn't mean that you can't reach out directly to my office and that we can't kind of give you the updates on what we're finding out as we push this issue.
I would appreciate it very much. And if Shane could put me down as an interested party, I would really appreciate that.
Shane's email is on the agenda, but if you just put jeff.gorell, then that's my email. So both those.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anybody else whose hands have been raised that I don't see, that I can't see? Yeah. Okay. All right. Do we have any written communications?
That's usually our office. I don't think that we have any other than those that have already been presented to the MAC. The information that Mark Burley forwarded, for example, I'm sorry, that Keith Cannon is sent, for example, regarding the fire safe process, and any documents have been presented already to the MAC. Otherwise, I don't think any other written communications have been received.
Okay. Future agenda items. Vision of the MAC, future of Santa Rosa Valley, a Brown Act briefing, the evacuation talk with Ventura County. Let me see what her title is. Large Animal Evacuation Coordinator, Vicki Bielek, or Taurus. The ADU ordinance should go back on the schedule. Okay, Kevin, you said no to Firewise? Okay, is there anything else? I don't know if your hand's
Yeah,
up.
we've got this issue of the boundaries of the MAC to,
All right, the boundaries of the MAC. Hopefully we'll have a map before then.
and then for information items, I would love to get the update on how we're doing with the Stepping Stones writing program, and if there is any update on the Bridlewood Debris Basin Trail.
Okay.
Although there may not be by then, but at least we can keep it on till we do get it.
Okay, that sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, anything else?
Madam Chair, before you adjourn, my intention when I did my introduction earlier was to introduce Shane Warburton, but he was running around trying to find the oath, so I forgot to do that. But I just want everyone to meet Shane. It sounds like everyone's talked to him already just about, but I do want to say that not only is he the community field rep for me in the Santa Rosa Valley, but he's a resident and lives there, and his family lives there, and he's got a lot of history there. So he knows it, he loves it, and I think I have no doubt he's going to be a champion for this MAC and all of the neighborhood in the future. So thank you for that opportunity to introduce Shane.
Well, welcome.
I'd just like to say, I feel like you and your staff have done a great job in reaching out to the community already, and we appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to the Santa Rosa Valley. Michael?
Yeah, I did want to add one agenda item, which is just an overview of what Malibu did with their dark sky ordinance. What I want to do is give the public an idea of what some of these look like and see what appeals to them, if any, and just kind of go from there. I don't think it'll be a long presentation, but just kind of a quick overview of it so they can see what they've done.
Do we remember if it was a question on, we did a questionnaire, and this may be useful for your office to look at. About 3 to 4 years ago, we did a questionnaire to the whole valley about what their most important issues were. And it's just something to sort of good to look at and to remember. Do we recall if there was a question on there about dark sky ordinance?
Yes, there was one on there. And there was also a leaflet that was included with that questionnaire. So the results of the questionnaire were, it was 2-1 in favor of the dark sky ordinance, but there was also a large percentage of people who were unsure that they wanted the dark sky ordinance. So it ran about 40% for, 20% against, and 40% not sure.
Okay, thank
you. So it's
I probably have the results of that in my computer somewhere, actually.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Sure.
All right. Thank you for our first new meeting with Shane and Jeff Gorell. And at this point, I am going to adjourn our meeting until our next meeting, which is scheduled for March
16th, I think.
16th?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, March 16th. All right. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you for your participation.
Thank you all.
Guys. Thanks, Shane.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thank
Jeff.
you. Thanks,
Great
everyone.
meeting you.
Bye-bye.
Great meeting you.
Bye.
Bye now.